This is Tyrese Haliburton, and you're listening to Setting the Pace.
Happy Friday, Pacer Nation. What is going on? Welcome back to another episode here of your go-to Pacers podcast, Setting the Pace. I'm your host, Alex Golden. I'm going to be going solo on today's show. No Michael J. Facci, no pep in the step as the Pacers fall 124-118 in a really fun, entertaining game that the Pacers just could not get enough stops and they could not generate enough offense. But let's kind of set the table here a little bit, because going into the game on Thursday, the Pacers on Wednesday night had listed Benedict Mathurin and Tyrese Haliburton as questionable for this game. That was hopefully pointing in the right direction for Ben Mathurin, who had been, listed as doubtful the previous two games. And so you're kind of thinking, okay, he went from doubtful to questionable. Could Ben Mathurin make his return? Tyrese Haliburton just played phenomenal against the Rockets on Tuesday night. So to see him added to the injury report on Wednesday, you're thinking, okay, hopefully this is nothing too serious. I believe it was a hip injury. The Pacers end up ruling him out as well for this game with Mathurin. So now you're without two of your more dynamic scorers in your backcourt, and you're trying to figure out what are they going to do. And the first thing I thought is, if this was Haliburton back in November, I don't think I would have been as upset or been as discouraged. But the way Haliburton has been playing for this Pacers team, you knew it was going to be a problem, just because he's had some really, really nice games against the Hawks, and just not having that extra ball handler out there, man, that just really makes things difficult. So the Pacers fall 124-118, like I said, in a game that was back and forth, a lot of different runs here and there. But I want to dive into why the Pacers lost in this first segment. So I just feel like if you look at what the Pacers did in the fourth quarter, it wasn't enough. They got outscored 38-24. 38-24 in the fourth quarter, nearly giving 40 points to Atlanta in the fourth, and not being able to generate any offense outside of Siakam and Nesmith, really. So let's just dive into what I saw here, because Niang hit back-to-back threes with around 5 minutes left to give the Hawks a 107-102 lead. Indiana could never catch up from that. They could never get that lead back. So it was about 109, 106, I believe it was, and they leave Dyson Daniels wide open for a three. He drills it. The Hawks go up 112-106, and then the next play down, Aaron Nesmith walks into an above-the-break three and splashes it, cuts the lead to three. But in the next three Pacers possessions, they go scoreless. Miles Turner's called for an offensive foul. I believe Nembhard missed a shot, and I believe Siakam missed a shot. So the Pacers go scoreless on their next three possessions, and the Hawks were able to obviously score because they scored 38 points in the fourth quarter. Nobody was stopping them, so they get the lead back up to 7. And so you're just hoping that there's a little bit of hope. And so with about 55 seconds left in the game, the Pacers scout the Hawks play very well. They get another McConnell. They get a steal. Aaron Nesmith makes a 2-point basket. They cut the lead to 5 with 55.1 seconds left to play. And the Pacers decide, we're down by 5 with 55 seconds left. We're not going to just play this next possession out defensively. We're going to foul. We're going to put the Hawks on the line. And they did it strategically, as I believe Tony East posted this on his X account. Mike Weiner, Pacers assistant coach, knew the scouting report for the Hawks, and he said, look, they're going to run this play out of bounds, this sidelines out of bounds play, so let's make it to where they have to throw it to Onyeka Okongwu so we can foul him. But Okongwu is about a 70% free throw shooter for the season. They foul him with about 55 seconds left. He goes over and knocks 2 down. And so it didn't really work the way they wanted to. So the 5-point lead becomes 7 again for the Hawks. And the Pacers are just playing catch up with not enough time. And I thought this was a bad decision. I understand the thought process behind trying to play the long-term game here. Play the long game. Let's see if we can get a foul. But let's go back to what happened on Friday night last week when the Pacers lost to the Miami Heat in crunch time. They were trading baskets back and forth, and they were, I forget what the score was, but they decided not to foul, right? They were trying to trap for the longest time, and then finally Siakam fouled somebody with like 6 seconds left to play against in the Heat game. And so everyone was kind of like, why didn't they foul sooner? Why didn't they foul sooner? And so now I'm on this side of the game where I'm watching, I'm going, why are they fouling so soon? So I just totally different scenarios, but I think maybe they were trying to overcorrect a little bit from not fouling soon enough against the Heat in this one. But fouling early against the Hawks ended up just going 6 of 6 from the free throw line when they had to play the foul game. I think the Pacers actually came down and scored a 2 after the Okongwu free throws to make it a 7-point game, and then Miles Turner, quickly fouled Trae Young. It's like Trae Young's, ice in his veins at the free throw line. He drills them both. So the Pacers were never able to get over the hump. And then I just feel like defensively, when you give up 38 points, that's inexcusable. You can't give up 38 points in the fourth quarter and expect to win, especially when you had a 7-point lead at half. A 7-point lead at half, and you end up losing the game by 6. You get outscored by 13 in the second half. It's hard to overcome that. But let's talk about someone that was really phenomenal in this game, and that's Pascal Siakam. Look, Siakam was the source of the offense for the entirety of the game, but he couldn't get enough help down the stretch. Aaron Nesmith was the only Pacer contributing with in crunch time. He had 5 points late, like I just mentioned, that above the break 3 and that steal right there where he laid it in. But, Nembhard goes 1 of 4. Once again, all his shots look short unless he was like way outside and he hit a couple of those. Miles Turner didn't even shoot the ball in the fourth quarter, nor did he shoot the ball in the third quarter. Miles Turner finished the game with a very decent stat line. All of that came from the first half. How does Miles Turner, without Tyrese Haliburton and without Ben Mathurin, not get a shot up in the third or fourth quarter? I think the Pacers had to do a much better job schematically getting him looks. He was feeling it too. He was shooting very well. The Pacers, he had 15 points in the first half. 15 points in the first half? You got to get him more looks. I mean, he was cooking. Well, I don't understand why they decided to go away from him, but, I get it, ebbs and flows of the game, things like that. Hawks made some adjustments, but still not enough to where I don't think they could have got him more looks. But I was more disappointed with, just the way that the team was not able to generate enough offense. And then, T.J. McConnell, he goes 1 of 3 in the fourth. So it was just, you needed guys to step up a little bit more that are your role players on this team. And without Haliburton and with Mathurin, you needed scoring. And you just couldn't find it anywhere else. So, Siakam dropped 35 points in this game, but only had 6 in the fourth. And that to me is just tough. So let's kind of look at the Siakam numbers here, because I just want to lay this out, put it out on the table here for you. The Pacers were up 108-103 with 9 minutes and 8 seconds left to play in the fourth when Siakam committed a shooting foul. Obi Toppin entered the game for him, right? At that point, Siakam was exhausted. Carlisle talked about it post-game, said he just didn't have any energy. He was gassed. He needed a break, okay? So they sub him out at 9:08, and they sub him back into the game at 5:03. In that 4-minute stretch, the Hawks went on a 14-4 run. Now, if you want to erase the free throws from the Siakam foul that he had, it was still a 12-4 run, which is, an 8-point differential. And the Pacers went from being up 3 to down 5, or up 5 to down 5, based on if you want to count those free throws or not. And that's where I think the game was really lost. It was the Pacers had the lead, and had they just been able to play Siakam the final 12 minutes of the fourth quarter and he had enough energy, I think that they probably could have pulled this one out. But I think having to pull him and put Obi in the game in that stretch was just tough. And I'll be honest with you, Obi Toppin was not great defensively tonight. There was a handful of moments I remember in the fourth quarter where he was just getting beat backdoor off the dribble, just out of position a little bit defensively. And it just, we've talked about Obi Toppin's defense. It's very back and forth, and most of the time it's not very good. I would say for the most part, Obi Toppin has been playing well as of late. But I think that the best version of Toppin is when he's playing with Haliburton and that style of offense. So, Obi Toppin tried throwing an Obi Toppin alley-oop to Aaron Nesmith tonight in the first half. It was way over his head, and Nesmith's like, what are you doing, bro? But yeah, I thought Obi Toppin struggled in this one. The Pacers bench was significantly worse, obviously, just, not being able to be as balanced, but they got outscored, I believe, 40-17 off the bench in this game. So, just a tough mark there. But I just think that kind of paints a picture of what exactly happened when Siakam went out in the fourth quarter and into, basically a 10-point differential when he wasn't in the game. So kind of shows why they ended up getting outscored in the fourth. But let's talk about what Rick Carlisle was mad about, and that is the points in the paint. This is number 3 for me, points in the paint. The Hawks outscored the Pacers 74-46 for points in the paint. Indiana had a tough, awful, difficult time slowing down the Hawks driving into the paint. Atlanta had 3 players score 20-plus points, and they had 6 total in double figures. The Hawks shot 62.5% from 2, going 40 of 64 inside the arc. Look, it's going to be hard to win those types of games when you're getting blown out, by guys that are just driving right off the three-point line into the lane. And one of the plays in the fourth quarter, we see George Niang get a drive. George Niang getting a line drive to the basket. I think part of it was guys are playing a little bit more extended minutes. You had a little bit of unfamiliar rotations out there, so not as much team chemistry and familiarity out there. And it just happens. It just happens at times, but still not good enough. 74 points. That'll be something the Pacers will have to clean up if they want to win game 2 against Atlanta on Saturday. And look, me and Facci talked about this. The Hawks have been playing decent basketball, especially since they've made some new additions, right? DeAndre Hunter goes to Cleveland, but they got Caris LeVert, they got Georges Niang, and they got Terrence Mann from the Clippers. Like, they've been playing, a little bit more depth here with this team, and I think a lot of people are questioning what exactly is going on with the Hawks, and they don't have their pick. It belongs to the Spurs this year and things like that, but, they're competitive. They're a competitive team, and so I have to give them a lot of credit for what they were able to do, but you have to just kind of point the finger at Indiana and say, how are you not going to stop the penetration? Like, I don't know how many times I saw Nembhard get blown by in this game. He's supposed to be the defensive stopper, but he really struggled at times tonight in both areas of the game. So, but we'll dive into that a little bit later. But I do want to take a quick break, so we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to dive in to Jarace Walker getting the start tonight. Didn't bring that up at the top of the show because I wanted to save it for its own segment, because Jarace Walker, to me, had a really good game. And so I want to dive into that separately. We'll be right back after this to talk about Jarace's start and how he played. All right, everybody, we are back, and we are here to talk about, that's right, Jarace Walker, the guy that everybody just cannot get enough of, right? And in this game, he gets the start for Tyrese Haliburton. Normally, we see Ben Shepherd kind of be the normal guy that gets that call up to the starting 5, someone that Carlisle trusts more as a defender and things like that, but he gets the starting 3 spot. They move Nesmith up to the 2, Nembhard up to the 1, no Haliburton, and early on the Pacers were up 22-11. And I thought, man, this is pretty good stuff that we're seeing right here. So I thought that it was a bit of a surprise to see him get the start, but I was all for it. He had 7 rebounds in 25 minutes, and Coach Carlisle absolutely loved his effort on the glass. Alluded to that in the post-game press conference as to why he wanted Walker to play. And look, the Hawks are kind of a long team with who they start and stuff like that. So I guess starting him to kind of guard Ricochet makes some sense. I was for it. I thought there was times, I think he had 4 rebounds in the first quarter early on. Like, he was just had a right mindset of going after the basketball, not trying to do too much. But he was good on both ends of the floor. You could really see how his size was, helping the Pacers on, specifically early on. I thought he made some timely baskets as well. Like, some of the shots that we've seen Jarace make throughout the year have been timely baskets, and I thought he did the same thing. It's like the Hawks go on this little run. Here's a Jarace Walker pull up, and he makes it. And you're just like, okay, Jarace. Like, you're not really expecting it, but when it goes in, you're just pleased because you're not expecting Jarace to kind of carry the load offensively, and he wasn't drafted to be an offensive guy. But I feel like at times, I think his offense has been greater than his defense. And I don't think that's a great sign for what the Pacers are wanting from him, but I think that he proved tonight why he deserved those minutes and why the conversation about him not being in the rotation maybe needs to be a little bit louder than it's been from our side of things, because he gets this opportunity, and I thought he played really well. He went 2 of 2 in the fourth quarter, hit some big shots there, like when the Pacers offense started to go stagnant. He seems very comfortable taking, shots when the Pacers need him to. And I'm not sure exactly if I love all of his shot selections, but for the most part, I think he's had some pretty good shot selections. And I wondered, too, if the Pacers started him not only for size, but to have another passer out there, another kind of ball mover, because Jarace is a naturally gifted passer. And sometimes he's a little bit too lackadaisical with the basketball. We saw a behind-the-back pass that he made, I believe, in the second quarter of this game. And I'm like, ooh, don't do that, Jarace, because that gets stolen, and it's kind of a little bit of a lazy behind the back pass. Like, that gets your butt on the bench. But if it works out well, like, no one's going to say anything. But, you got to be crisp with those types of passes and things like that. So I think Jarace played overall, I would say, he was about a B. I thought he was good. I don't think he was great. He didn't do anything spectacular to me, but he had some nice moments in there. So it was a step in the right direction. We'll see if they try to find minutes for him, but I know he wasn't out there when Siakam went to the bench. Obi Toppin was out there with Nesmith, McConnell, Nembhard, and Turner. You could make the case that he should have been in there instead of Obi Toppin tonight because of how he played. I think that he had a better showing in this game than Obi Toppin. But look, Obi Toppin's 27 years old. He's been in the league a little bit longer, has been getting consistent minutes in Rick's rotation. So I understand why they trust Obi in that spot, because Obi has been playing pretty good offensively as well too. And if he gets an open three, like it feels pretty good about him, him shooting it, you feel good he could make it. So, I thought that Jarace probably could have maybe been in that spot for that stretch when Siakam was out, or maybe you don't have McConnell and Nembhard out there together and go a little bit bigger at times. But, Nembhard was so bad to me at times in this game. You needed McConnell out there to kind of help him out. But overall, I mean, I wouldn't say, Nembhard was terrible, but I just think that you needed Jarace maybe a little bit more than he got to play. And I think he played 25, 26 minutes in this game. So a pretty solid amount of minutes for a guy that's been out of the rotation, and he earned it. So good stuff by Jarace Walker. We'll see what the status is for Mathurin and Haliburton going into Saturday's game, as they were listed as questionable. They could both return, and I think that would probably pull Jarace right back out of the rotation, and maybe the Pacers know that, and so they wanted to give him some extended minutes in this game, or they're maybe trying to ramp him up to say, okay, you are the one that was willing to go to the G League. It wasn't like we assigned you. You willingly went. You're showing signs of maturity. Let's give you some extra opportunities. And if that's the case, then kudos to the coaching staff for rewarding him for being so willing to do whatever it takes to get some reps. So I was impressed overall. Like I said, I'd give it a B grade. I'm very happy for Jarace in this moment. I think anybody that watched this game, I think our good friend Cammy even tweeted, he was at the game live. He said, and why isn't Jarace getting rotation minutes regularly? And that is a totally fair point. He had a big impact in this game in different ways. I thought defensively he had some nice moments. Offensively he had some nice moments. And, Jarace Walker is a very talented player. And if you recall, about a month ago when I was talking about the future of this team, I said, I think Jarace might have the highest ceiling of anybody in terms of what the Pacers need, right? The Pacers need the exact archetype that Jarace Walker is. It's just a matter of, can he string enough things together to be more of a consistent player? I think he can. I think it just takes time. And I know everybody is ready to pound the table and say, if he's not going to get minutes in this season, you need to trade him. Look, I don't understand the big rush to why people feel like you have to trade him. There was a tweet out earlier this week from Evan Sidery saying the Pacers have to make a decision. Make a decision on what? That is just so silly to me. He's in the second year of his rookie contract. They still got 2 more years to figure this all out. He could play in the rotation next season and everything be fine. So when you see stuff like that, they have to make it. They're not. Their hands aren't tied behind their backs. The Pacers are trying to do what is best for the team and develop Jarace Walker. It's a very hard line to toe because they've got players that are capable of being in the rotation and Jarace not. I understand the frustration. Don't get me wrong. I want to see Jarace play more because I think he's a very impactful player, but I want him to be more consistent. And so if not playing is going to drive him to be hungrier for success, and they're just going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing him to get to that point, then, trust the coaching staff just a little bit. I know people want to just blame the coaching staff because he's not getting minutes, but just trust him a little bit. I plead, because this is a group that's been around a long time. Rick Carlisle has been around the league a long time. Lloyd Pierce has been around the league a very long time. Pritchard, Buchanan, all those guys, they've been GMs for a while, and they've been in front offices, and they know that, not everybody's story is the same. Everybody's story is different. The Pacers are in a great situation where they have too many guys to play. It's still a problem, yes, but they don't have to solve that problem, tomorrow. In a month, in 2 months, in 3 months, yeah, you might think that you have to do it, but there's no reason they have to do it. The Pacers could literally sign Miles Turner and give Ben Mathurin an extension and run this whole thing back next year. They could do that if they wanted to. They don't have to make a decision on Jarace Walker with any of their moves right now. He is locked up. They have the rookie option they can pick up, right, for year 3 and year 4, which they're going to do. They're not just going to not pick it up. That'd be silly. Jarace Walker is a lottery level player. So the whole thing about they have to make a decision, I just thought that was a bit of a misleading tweet and really unnecessary. They don't have to make any type of decision. So Jarace Walker, good to see him play. I know it's just the Atlanta Hawks. They're not like this, great team in the Eastern Conference, but still, I thought in the moments that he was out there, he impacted the game and had a positive impact more than a negative one. And so we'll give him a B. So let's take one more break, and I'm going to give my individual thoughts on some other stuff that happened in this game. All right, everybody, we are back, and we're going to close things out here just talking about a few different things, and I want to talk about the opponent a little bit. We got to give the Hawks a lot of credit for what they did tonight, and I think everything, like the Pacers, it starts with the head of the snake, Trae Young. Trae Young was spectacular tonight. He had 22 points, 16 assists, and just 1 turnover, okay? And you want me to tell you just how special he was? 7 of those assists came in that fourth quarter. There were some open guys, I'll give you that, but he just draws so much gravity with his ability to, shoot from long range and drive to the basket and things like that. I mean, Trae Young is a special player, and we've given Tyrese Haliburton a ton of flowers for what he does for the Pacers, but, essentially Trae Young is the same thing to the Hawks offense in terms of how important he is to their success, and he's been very, very gifted this year. So, he's a gifted player and has had some big moments already. He took his Hawks to an Eastern Conference Finals the year that the Bucks won the NBA championship. So, Trae has had some good moments where he's been able to lead the Hawks to some great success. But, they've been kind of going through some ups and downs and some ebbs and flows, and they've not been great. And I think that Trae Young, in spite of all that, has kind of got a little bit of hate. I know this year it seems like there's a little bit of a resurgence for, why people are like getting back on the Trae Young bandwagon and how special he can be as an offensive player. But I just thought he was sensational, and I want to give him his flowers because too many times I feel like Trae Young doesn't get the respect that he probably deserves. And I want to say this, like, him and Haliburton are totally different players. So if you're trying to compare the two, like, okay, it's not the same thing. It's comparing apples and oranges, right? They're two different things, and they're both very gifted at what they do. So Trae Young to me was the biggest difference maker in this game. Obviously, Georges Niang, like, come on. I'm not gonna lie. I've probably never cared for Georges Niang. Like, even when he was a Pacer, I was like, I'm not feeling this guy. And then you watch him play, and you're just like, this guy's kind of annoying. I know him and Haliburton are good buddies and things like that, but there's just something about him that, as a player, like going up against him, he would just drive me nuts. He'd drive me up the wall, right? He just has like a punchable face, I guess you could say. But just an interesting guy. And I mean, the fact that he was able to get 12 of his 24 points in the fourth quarter. Come on, Pacers, what are we doing? He's a 3-point shooter. You can't leave him open. And the 2 threes that he got that gave the Hawks that 107-102 lead, they were wide open. Wide open. He's a shooter. You can't let him be open. I think him and Siakam got tangled up there at the end too. And, I know he's a nice guy. I'm not saying he's not a nice guy, but watching him play, just one of those guys, you just don't want to root for him. You want to root against him, especially all the facial reactions he gives and things like that. But I'll give him his flowers tonight. Very, very good performance, 24 points. Led the Hawks in scoring. He led the Hawks in scoring. You can't let Georges Niang lead the team in scoring and lose that game. That's just that's a little bit of a dagger right there. And then I want to give one last shout out to another Hawk, Onyeka Okongwu. I thought Onyeka Okongwu was really good in this game. He had 11 points in the fourth quarter. He scored 20 points overall on 7 of 8 shooting, and then had 6 of 7 from the free throw line. So very, very, very efficient. They didn't have to play Clint Capella too much. I thought that Okongwu was a much better option for them at the 5, and he's been starting for that reason, and Capella's been coming off the bench. So, just wanted to say that was great. But let's dive into some more Pacer stuff here quickly as we wrap up. I've mentioned it a little bit, but let's dive into Andrew Nembhard a little bit more. Look, last season when Tyrese Haliburton would miss games, the Pacers would get impressive showings from Andrew Nembhard, especially offensively. But this season, he has just not delivered in the same way. It has been a really, really rough stretch for him of late, and tonight it was no different. He goes 5 of 13 from the field for 15 points and 10 assists. And I mean, when you look at the box score and you say Nembhard had 15 and 10, nice double-double. I think he was fine passing the ball. I don't have a problem with what he did passing. But 15 points on 13 shots from Andrew Nembhard, could those shots have gone to Miles Turner? Could those shots have gone to Aaron Nesmith or Pascal Siakam a little bit more, or even somebody else? I mean, some of these shots that Nembhard was taking, they're just like, a little bit of forced stuff, trying to do too much herky-jerky stuff. A three-point shot, every time he shoots the ball now, I just feel like he's going to miss it. I'm just like hoping and wishing he'd get it. Like he hit his first three-pointer tonight. I said, okay, you're going to need a big offensive game from him tonight. Like they need this. They need him to play where he's averaging, or at least scoring in a game like 20 points and 13 assists. Like that's kind of what you're hoping for from Nembhard, especially against a Hawks team that's not known for their defense. I know Dyson Daniels is a very good defender, and he was guarding him at times and making things difficult, right? Or guarding him for the majority of the game, making things difficult because he was kind of like their sorts of offensive generation in terms of getting the offense flowing. But I don't know. I just feel like when it comes to Andrew Nembhard, his efficiency offensively has just completely dropped. And tonight he was a team worst, minus 15 in the game. So I know plus minus doesn't show everything, but it just feels like the minutes have been rough with him out there. And I feel better when he's kind of playing in that like fifth starter role as of late, because when he first came back, like the way this team just flipped the switch on when he came back and he won Defensive Player of the Month in January, like you're talking about a guy that was just playing at a very, very good level. I wouldn't say peak, but he was just really strong. And now he's just really dipped. He's really dipped in efficiency. So, I mean, even if he's guarding Trae Young, we know Trae Young's a special player, but like Trae Young had some, filthy stats tonight. So not the greatest defensive game either from Nembhard. So if Haliburton can't go on Saturday, I'm hoping we see an improved Andrew Nembhard look. I know that I probably just have the image of Nembhard against the Celtics in my head, and I've got to get that out of my head, and I got to realize that was an anomaly. That's not who he really is. But I just think he can be better. And I think every Pacer fan would agree that when you see Nembhard shooting the ball 15 times, you're probably not happy about it. You're probably a little bit frustrated that he is putting up the shots that he's putting up. So other than that, don't have much to say about Nembhard. Just I'm hoping he has a breakthrough offensively at the end of March going into April, can carry that over into the playoffs, because if he continues to be such a non-offensive threat in terms of shooting the basketball and really putting some points on the board, I think that could be a liability, or he's going to find himself not maybe closing games as much. Maybe you see a Mathurin Nesmith type situation where they're closing the game instead of Nembhard, but we've seen how important Nembhard is to, unlocking Tyrese. So, you got to take, the good with the bad with Nembhard, understand what's been working, what's not been working. And you're going to get a consistent effort from him defensively every single night. It's just offensively, you need him to be more consistent. But other than that, Aaron Nesmith, I thought he was the second best Pacer tonight. Pascal Siakam was phenomenal, as I mentioned earlier. I mean, just a terrific game from him. 35 points for Pascal Siakam on 12 of 18, shooting 3 of 5 from 3, 8 of 9 from the free throw line, was getting to the free throw line at will. 9 rebounds, 3 assists. Like, he did everything. He was a +8 in this game, in a game the Pacers lost by 6 points. 14-point differential when he was out there. Aaron Nesmith, he was a +1 in the game, and TJ McConnell was a team best +11. So I just want to say they were better in the lineups when McConnell was out there with that group. They went on some nice runs, but I will say Aaron Nesmith had 21 points on 8 of 15 shooting, okay? So he was second in shots, and then Nembhard was third. 4 of 9 from 3, but he's just playing with confidence. You love the confidence Nesmith's playing with, and you just kind of wish that some of the other guys would pull together some of that confidence play as well. It just seems like about 60% of the guys can play at a level that's really well, like a high level, and the other 40% are like either middle tier level or below it. And it's just like you want to see them all come together and play at a high level at once, because you're probably thinking to yourself, like, if the Pacers don't have all these wacky injuries at the beginning of the year, in November they lost and racked up a lot of games, and they go 5 games under 500. If they had just flipped that in 5 games over 500, look where they'd be at now. They'd be at 40 wins. They'd be at 40 wins on their way to 50. They'd be for sure on pace to win 50 games. So it's just, this team this whole season, it feels like they haven't been able to play well together at the same time from top to bottom. And so hopefully they're saving that for the playoffs. It's just been like, okay, for this stretch, we've had some really good play from Haliburton, but Siakam's been bad, or then Siakam goes on a great run, Haliburton was kind of quiet, or whatever. Then it's like, okay, bench hasn't been as good as this year as it was last year. Like I put the numbers out on Twitter to kind of compare them and who's, what's been working and what's not been working and what they look like last year compared to this year. And like last year, they were just like top 8 in almost every statistical category besides defense, where they were 29th. This year, the Pacers bench has been like top 10 to 12 in almost every category, but like the shooting's dropped down to like below middle of the pack, and of course their defense is still bad, like minus. I think they're like a defensive 22nd, 23rd in defense. So they've taken a step back offensively. They're not shooting the ball as well, and their defense has only gotten a little bit better and not enough better. So I'll just leave it at that. But their plus minus last year as a bench unit was 0.8, a 0.8. This year it's been a 0.7. So maybe it's not that drastic, but it just feels like the bench has not carried the load that they did last year. But Aaron Nesmith, thought he was phenomenal in this game and did some really nice things. Thought Miles Turner had a great first half offensively. I think, defensively he was solid all night, had 9 rebounds tonight. And everybody wants to get on his case for the rebounding, stuff like that, but thought he was good on the glass. And other than that, not a whole lot else to share, but just a tough one for the Pacers. Hopefully they can get back and get on the winning ways against the Hawks on Saturday, because you can't drop 2 games to the Hawks in a very tightly congested battle for the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference with Milwaukee, Detroit, and Indiana. It's like a Central Division. Who wants to be the second best team in the Central Division? Let's find out over the next month. So I just think that Indiana cannot afford to really lose the next game against Atlanta. It feels like Tyrese Haliburton will be ready to play in that one. I would be more surprised if he doesn't play than if he does. And if he plays and he got the rest that he needed, that's great. You need a healthy Haliburton more than you need a Haliburton out there playing every night. So healthy Haliburton is the best Haliburton. And so, just take it easy. You almost won this game without him. The Hawks are not that good. The Hawks are a mediocre team. They played good in stretches tonight, but I walked away from this game not discouraged by the Pacers as a team, but I was more just discouraged by the inconsistency of play overall. I would say that I was, impressed with what the Hawks were able to do from a Hawks standpoint, but I thought Indiana's defense could have been significantly better, and they could have done a much better job of trying to, stop some drives and things like that. So we'll see how they react. I think this team has done a very good job responding. Just go back and look at what they did in Paris, France, when the Spurs embarrassed them on national TV. They come back the next game and absolutely do the exact opposite to the Spurs and embarrass them on national TV. So I think the Pacers will come ready for the game Saturday, a little bit more focused. And they got to win every game. And so I was counting on this win, but I was expecting a Houston loss. So you flip those. Okay, get back on track, beat the Hawks again, beat the Bulls, and get ready for Milwaukee next Tuesday on the second night of a back-to-back. But you got to take care of the games that matter, just as much as that Milwaukee game. I know the Milwaukee game is big. It's big. But the other games just matter just as much in terms of your win-loss column. So you got to win those games. So we always miss when Facci can't be here for the recaps, but me and Facci will be back on Sunday night. We're going to be doing a mailbag podcast there. So if you have any questions, please send those in to us early. I'm going to put a graphic out on Saturday letting everybody know to send your questions in for Sunday. But if you want to get them in, we're recording early on Sunday morning. We got things going on Sunday night. So Sunday mornings when we're recording, make sure you guys send those questions in. But, there's no pep in this step because the Pacers lost, but we're hoping they can get back on track, right? Like they got a great chance to do so, and they've done very well in responding in games where they've previously lost. They play that same team next. We rarely see the Pacers lose in these mini-series 2 times in a row. So I'm expecting the Pacers to come back and play better. But with that being said, we miss you, Facci. Pacer Nation, y'all are the best. Thanks so much for tuning in, even though this was a loss. I know it's solo too, so it's a little bit different, but we love you guys. We appreciate your support. And with that being said, although they lost, let's go Pacers.